I hope you're going to enjoy it, and I'm so glad to see so many of you who have come from so far and so near to come to the class reunions. Thank you, and enjoy your dinner.
I'm Pat Lloyd, and this is the class of 64, right? All right, Long? Well, give yourself a hand. Come on, let's go. All right, so I'm going to stumble through this, and we don't have a real structure, and that's okay. I guess we have 55 people or so that attending now that graduated with us, and out of about 300. So, and sadness is we're losing a lot. But so let's keep upbeat on this. This year we've made some changes, and it is kind of casual. There are no, I know you're really going to be sad about this, there are no trophies this year for who came the furthest. And I know Ed Schrock, I know you got your hat on, but there's no trophies for the least hair, okay? You would have won it, they would have taken it home and kept it forever had you got it this year. But so you aren't getting anything. So, well, first of all, I want to introduce to you several different people who put this group together, this whole function, their efforts. So Gail, stand up. You're coming up here. Come on. You got a chair. We're going to start with her, and she's going to talk to all these different people. But before that starts, there's something right here for you.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow.
Gail, we just want to thank you for all of the work that you've done to make this one of the most successful reunions that we've had in 55 years.
Oh.
And it's beautiful, the details are exquisite, and we appreciate all the efforts that you do to keep our class together.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, my goodness. Wow. We were looking, wondering whose this was.
Oh, now you know.
Oh.
Here, okay. She's going to talk about the contributors and the volunteers who did so much work on this, and so your turn.
So we're going to pat ourselves on the back here.
Yes.
You know, politically speaking or not, it takes a village, and it took a lot of us to put this together. Dwayne does so much for keeping our class informed and doing these beautiful CDs and things that he does, so each of us can play these at home and just keep in contact with what we've done over the years and reminisce. It's life's short. Eat dessert first. Sarah, she has just been marvelous at putting so much of this together. Our photo booth over here is her idea, and she just did so much work on putting it together. And Kay has helped us. She's been just, and Dolores.
Stand up.
Dolores is our money person. You know, you cannot trust me with money, so I give it all to Dolores. If it's missing, it's her fault. But to have Pat do this for us each time we come together, you know, it takes a lot of guts to get up here and talk in front of people.
The stupidity.
Yeah. And Kurt and Jeff that put together the golf tournament that even I played in yesterday. That was fun. I got to tell you, I've golfed for 35 years and I'm not good at it. But, you know, do the same thing over and over and get the same result. But I got a par yesterday and I was thrilled with that.
Oh.
Yeah. Am I missing anybody?
Dan Roa.
Oh, Dan is our money guy. Goes from Dolores to Dan, and he's the one that keeps track of all of our money and where it goes and how it comes in. So he's just been instrumental in all these years of taking care of our money situation. And we had a lovely young lady in here all day long, Tess Gallagher. She used to manage the bistro downtown Longview, and now she's working for the Cowlitz Tribe of Indians. And these are so many of her ideas, and the flowers being put together, the little candles, all of the blackened red napkins. Sarah and Tess have done all this. I have no creative energy, so they did all this. But it's been fun. I just have to say it's a labor of love, and I love putting out the bulletins once a month or so and sending you pictures and whatnot. And like I tell my husband, it keeps me out of the pool halls, so. So back to Pat. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Bless you. Okay, don't forget these flowers either.
I won't forget those.
Okay. Well, I think we'll talk about golf. Now, Kurt, DePriest, and Jeff, why don't you guys come up here? Here we are, come on. And this is where the trophies may come out, so, anyway. I sure hope so. Is this for you? Is this for you? It's for you too if you want it. I don't know, Tim, it's water. Tim gave me a drink, but I think it's water.
Well, we have people in our class who like to play golf. I think we had 24 people. I think maybe one or two that weren't from our class. And we met at Mid-Valley on Friday. And I imagine 22, there's 50 some here? That's like almost 40% of the class. 40% of what was here. A lot of people who played golf aren't here, or some people aren't here. But we had good weather. I think everybody had a good time. Gail, you know that, well, you've been away from golf, but we've all hit so many bad shots that we all totally understand each other's frustration. So, anything you want to add to that, or?
Well,
go ahead.
Wake up, Kurt, come on.
You know, we're all, most of us are getting to be 73, 72. That is a score that we all try to aim for. We can do that on the front nine, maybe. But it is the age we are, so it's still fun to get together with everybody and do that. And I want to just to say a hand out to Jeff. He not only does this golf thing, he runs the safety meeting that the men have every other Wednesday or so. We discuss things that need to be taken care of. And, we do have
Like, where's the next safety meeting going to be?
Yeah. We do need some suggestions. We prefer something quiet. We can't hear anymore. All that other stuff. So we appreciate anybody coming to that. But again, Jeff does need a hand of applause.
Hey, thank you. That's a good way to get rid of the mic, I think. Well, I will say one thing about the safety committee, and I took another email address. We not only graduated together, most of us grew up since we were together since we were like 6th grade or so. So we get together for a beer and talk about anything important or kind of hold each other up a little bit. We do have 2 trophies here. You want to tell them about the tradition of this one?
No.
We started something, I guess we started it in our 20th year. Am I loud enough without this?
Push your mouth, I think.
All right. We started it the 20th year, Artie Long Class 64 Reunion Top Golfer. And the names on here, Tom Erickson's on here a couple times. He was the top golfer. We do it every 5 years, obviously.
Stand up, Tom.
Yeah, stand up. Tom Erickson. Joe McGreevy has won this before. Kurt has won it before. Daryl Gunderson. Stand up, Daryl. Daryl has won it 3 times, and he's probably still the best golfer. We fight it out. Dennis Nicholson and I tied last year. Well, we got to looking at this, and the golf was mostly fun. I mean, we didn't have any competition, no awards, but we got to thinking, whose name isn't on here? And unfortunately, he isn't here tonight. But Jim Kellogg, who was a on the golf team. You know, he's been back in town for a couple years, and so anyway, he's going to get the plaque. He has to engrave it himself, and he has to hang on to it and then bring it back. So we'll get him that way anyway. This award was a big challenge. We had 2 caddies this year, and they really don't know about caddies, what caddies used to do, how they used to carry a bag, and they would clean off the golfers' clubs and, you know, maybe even help them out or whatever. These 2 guys, all they had to do was drive the cart. You know, they just drive one of us to wherever we're supposed to be, and most of the time, they had no idea where they were supposed to be. In golf, you get in trouble if you can't keep up, if you're slow. Well, you know, our caddies were the ones that slowed us down. The rest of us, we could keep up. Anyway, unfortunately for me, my caddy, Jay Johnson, you are not getting the award. It was like, who's the worst of these 2? And Jay, so Pat, Lloyd, hey, can we get a picture?
Hey,
Kurt, in here.
My turn for a trophy! Oh my God! The fix was not in on this. I want you to know, okay?
Everybody get a kiss on the lips.
No kisses on the lips. That's coming up. That story in a minute.
So anyway, you know, we'll probably do this again in 5 more years, so, you know.
Oh, in the finger!
It's going to be a caddy fight. I can see that tonight.
He learned that in caddy school. You never give the finger. That's why he lost out right here. This is it. So his protocol is just stumped the whole thing.
He was bad.
I caddied for Mike Zonich. Where's Mike at? There, he's behind there. And you can attest to the quality of Mike.
The contract was the same. Cold beer when you get there.
If it hadn't been for you, Mike, I would have never gotten this. This is remarkable. Wow. Can you hear me now? I am so excited. Jay, we'll share this. 6 months at your house, 6 months at mine, okay? And then it'll be a tradition from here on out. So at the 80th reunion, yeah. Oh God, that's scary, isn't it? Okay, Dan Rue does not want to talk, so I get to about the money, I guess. That's the next topic. So I'm going to go get more exact because we had a sheet over here that Dan Rue did a very good job of developing. This is the scholarship recipients, and actually there is a total of $27,961 in the fund right now. And what has happened is the money has been transferred to RA Long School itself. It's not commingled with the Alumni Association. It is its own separate fund, and they are the administrators. Is that correct, Dan? So they have their own tax ID, is that correct? I guess. So anybody contributing, this is all up to code now. Where we can get those deductions, but tax rules have changed, so contributions aren't really going to be, standard deductions too high. So anyway, this talks about the students and the year there's 10 or 11 of them, 12 here I think, but you might take a look at this and recognize it. And I was really curious about if we could somehow follow up on where these young people are and what they're doing, because I mean these are overachievers, and I'd really be interested in what they're doing. So yeah, and Terry Graff says he's going to put my name in so I get to help at the presentation next year. I'd really like that. So that's one of my things about school. I just love it for the young people, and it's the opportunities we had. I don't know. No, we're not. No. But anyway, just it's one of my favorite things to do is see young people achieve, and we had such opportunities in school. It was so cheap compared to what it is now, and so anyway, that's. I don't have anything else to say. Dan, you want to say anything at all? Say hello? That's it, okay. Okay, so, again, we don't have a lot. I think we should have an open mic here. So I'm going to hand this mic to anybody who would like to speak. One rule, no politics. So if you have something you want to say, to talk about a teacher that was motivated you, or just something, your children, your are there any great-grandparents here? Oh, whoa, look at all the okay, how many great-grandchildren?
6, 2. 3 grades, 14 grades.
What, 6? 1. Any more?
1 on the way.
1 on the way, okay, that counts. Okay, 6 is it, that's good.
6 here.
Maryland's in the back.
Where? How much? How many?
6 great-grandkids.
6. You're tied. 1. Marcia, hi Marcia. How are you doing? Okay, I was really curious about that, so I don't even have grandchildren. Oh, man. Wow, yeah, so. What?
You're missing help.
You can borrow some of mine.
Well, it's such a, that's so cool. Okay, I don't think there's anybody here for their first reunion, is there? I mean, the last reunion, we had a couple of people, Fusner, but no, okay, we don't have any of that, so I'm curious. There's so many people that have traveled different places. I am really curious. And this microphone's for you guys to talk about where you've been. I just amazed by some of the trips that people have.
Where you been, Patrick?
Nothing. Where's
Sandy?
The Kremlin.
Yeah.
Sandy and Darcy and Vicki.
where?
Sandy and Darcy and Vicki just had a recent trip. And I'm sure they would love to go to a trip.
Well, one of the best trips that Darcy and Vicki and I have taken was to Greece. And we were able to charter a catamaran and be on a boat for 7 days in Greece. And then after that, we went for a week to an island called Milos. And we rented a little house right on the water. And we've said many times since we did that, it was really one of the best that we've ever taken, of all the trips we've taken.
Harlan, this guy has been everywhere. You're going to talk. Terry?
Come on, say hello to the audience. I'm waiting to hear from you. You're one of the funniest guys I know. Okay, is this working?
You have to get closer to the stand up there.
I traveled to Longview.
Yeah, I got my passport stamped, and I was told to leave town
Tomorrow.
You're being deported.
It's fun being here,
Seeing all the people that I can remember.
remember, and the people that can remember me, and it's good. It's fun. So now it's up to Terry.
I want to make the pitch for the scholarship of this work. I've had an opportunity to make the presentation a couple of times for the recipients of the scholarship. And when I hear there's $24,000 sitting there, we've been making this net reunion. That means if we can raise $23,000, we can give a 1974 scholarship for 100 years. And so what I'd like to do is challenge everybody to send in a check, down-pack deductible, and after we're all gone, somebody will stand up on the stage and they will remember the class of 64 before it was really done. And I read something, we have a paper here called The Reader, I think, and Ned Piper wrote something about his class, and he said, starting it now. Send in your money, and Pat's going to give the scholarship next year. I challenge all of you to stand up there and see the people that you're giving this to. And when you see that R.A. Long, their high school graduation rate is 98.7%.
Yeah, wow.
We get millions of dollars in scholarships, and it's because of our legacy, and we need to live on for another 100 years. We will all be gone, but somebody will stand up with their children or grandchildren, and they will say, class of 64, 100 years. Pull out your checkbooks, send in the checks, and let's do it. 23,000, I mean, how many people are here each in 50 bucks, 40 bucks, 20 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever it is? We need to do that. That's my 2 cents.
Terry, Dan, Bruce, and
Pat's already donated 1,000.
Consider, I can see it.
Where do we send it now?
Yeah.
we can give a check
Ari Long.
tonight, and he'll take care of it for us if we want.
Okay, I got my check and security card, so, okay, yeah. So, your checkbook is how big? I'm working on it like Terry did.
Anybody else want to speak? Okay.
We need somebody, come on, don't be afraid of this. Ed Schrock. Well, they're bitter about the trophies, I know.
We're talking about travel and being able to go places. I've been very fortunate to have been able to go to Europe twice. In our last trip, we went to the Holy Lands. We went through Jerusalem and saw all the beautiful divisions of Jerusalem for different religions and how they all got along. And the outside of the walls of Jerusalem are pockmarked from the last wars in the 60s. It was really just fascinating. We were in Tel Aviv, Greece, Italy, France. We went on the channel underneath the water, which I thought was going to creep me out, but I managed to get there. Had lunch on the Eiffel Tower. And I say those things because I'm amazed that I'm a little girl who came from Longview, whose dad was the town barber, whose mother was a secretary. And yet, we were given the opportunity through education, and education that was not nearly as expensive as it is now, to better ourselves, better our path, and to be able to take it to Jerusalem and the Eiffel Tower and the Tower of London. So I'm with Terry. Let's help these other kids get to their dreams too.
Come on. McCormick, get up there. Talk about something. Come on. All right.
I didn't think I'd ever get this mic now. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody. I think thanks to like Lawrence and friends. They knew I had a little bit of cancer here this last year, and it was a real challenge. I've been healthy all my life. Kind of bragged about being the healthiest one in my class, right? Well, I don't brag anymore. I got that lymph node cancer and went through a lot of pain and suffering. I thought it was tougher than I am, but it was pretty ugly. And I sure think that I got healthy because of a lot of folks who took care of me. 7 cars, I treasure those. And I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I definitely plan on doing a lot more of that for our class and classes to come. So thanks again, and appreciate it. If I didn't get a card back to you, my wife is, she's the card girl, she takes care of things for me. I still can write my name on the checkbook. She does everything else. So thanks again, I appreciate every one of you. From the bottom of my heart.
Oh, Gary, too. Get them both. We'll get them both.
You're next. You're after me.
Pushy.
as we're traveling, I always think of Miss Sonneman,
Yes, good.
right? And how she made history come alive with her travels. And as we travel, I think of Miss Sonneman and Miss Layton and Miss Lancaster and Mr. Waggle. And think about the relationships that we had with them and how they fostered the relationship we had with each other.
Yes, excellent.
It's always a gift to get back here. We don't get down here. We would like to feel a bit of a disconnect, but each time we come, there's always special moments, special opportunities to see people. Last night was really a special moment to me because I saw somebody that, to me, is one of the toughest guys in my class. Somebody that I've always admired because of his determination. Seeing Frankie here last night.
Hey, Frankie.
Yes.
What a gift, Frankie. Good to see you.
Who's next? Tom?
I need to get political for a minute.
Oh, no.
I'm Tom Sund and I'm running for Yakima City Council. I appreciate all of your votes. And if you're not in my district, I'll get a ballot out of a mailbox, mail it to you, and you can sign it in return. They are free now to mail back. I just want to share with you what a great opportunity it is for me to be here tonight. It's a special night for me. And the fact that the last few reunions that the class of '64 has had, I have not attended because I didn't know about them. A lot of that has to do with the divorce. I kept the same email, the same phone number, the same address, and all those kinds of things. So no one was able to contact me. But it's a real pleasure to be here. And I want to share with you one thing just shortly. I moved to Arlong in April of my junior year. I had been raised in Quincy where I started K through 11. And when I moved here, I can assure you that there were a lot of tears. There was a lot of anger towards my parents. My younger brother, 3 years younger, shares the same story. He was in the 7th grade. And it was very, very difficult. And you go to school for just 6 weeks, and then summer comes, and you're used to having summer employment. You don't have that. You don't have any friends. You're just lost, just totally lost, and it's painful. And yet I started my senior year, and I met some of the most wonderful people who were generous to me in extending their friendships. And those friendships, many of them have gone throughout the years. And I recently, I won't say recently, it would have been 4.5 years ago, Gail Wilt, she was able to connect with my sister, and that's how I got to be invited back to these again. But I want to say thank you to each of you for the outstanding support that you gave me when I began my senior year here, and I truly feel a member of Arlong. Once again, I'm Tom Sund, I'm running for Yakima City.
Beautiful. Wow. He worked in the politics. That is just a master. Great. So, one thing, okay, Greg's gonna come up in a couple minutes, but one thing I feel really remiss about is not recognizing all the veterans in prior reunions. And just, so, if you're a veteran, please stand up. Your contribution is just amazing to our existence and time, and we just appreciate you, and yes. Should have been done in every reunion, and I apologize for that, so anyway, thank you. Hold it for your mouth, too. And this will connect with this.
The lady beside, oh wait a minute, beside Jay, where are you, Jay? Who's the lady John Hendrickson wants to know who you are.
All right. You got a whole letter.
I know, but
It's connected to that.
I know, but oh, it is?
Yeah, so it's side, but this is your main.
We'll do the best we can with the mic. It's actually working for me. Well, I was going to start with Ed Schrock, but everybody else got to him first. I wrote to Ed and I said, Ed, don't die. I want to see you at the reunion. And Cindy wrote back, of course. We're really glad to see you, Ed. Greetings from Marty Prudhomme, our dear, dear friend from Louisiana, class of 1964, St. Bernard Parish High School. And she said to say hi to all of you. She just was here with us just this past week. You know, I love to get together with my radio buddies. They all give me a short wave. Oh, yeah. You couldn't see that one coming. Just watch out when they give those microwaves. Yeah. I wanted to start off tonight with the Captain Yogi's radio jingle. Can any of you remember it? You remember that? I remember it because I worked there at KDO. I played that thing day after day. Because if you're not going to sing it, I am. Okay? If anybody remember it at all? Okay. Well, it's a little late to say this, but put food in your tummy tum 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 tummy tum 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 tummy tum tum. If you haven't any teeth up above or beneath, you can gum it with your gummy gum gums. You can gum it with your gummy gum gums. Eat food. That's what it was. Boy, they had the craziest things on radio, didn't they? You know, I've spent way over half of my life cherishing the double meaning. They call it pun. I don't know where they got that name. But at one point in my life, at least, I had considered writing a book and calling it Pure Punography. I was not an athlete. I actually did, and I won't go through the details of this, but I actually did run with a cross-country team, made varsity, and quit. I was a trombonist. I guess I was suffering from thrombosis. So, whatever. Oh, did you notice I had a Tommy Hilfiger shirt on tonight? It buttons itself. Look at that. It just... I got this thing and I fiddled with the buttons and I said, I can't get this thing buttoned. Oh, it is buttoned. Yeah, and it made me think of how this whole thing was invented in the first place. All these guys getting together and trying to design these pretty shirts and everything, and they got so frustrated they finally gave up and said, just give it to Tommy, he'll figure it out. Oh, there you go. See, that's the greatest reward a punster can get is the groan. Say, how many did have Rosemary Leeden for a teacher? Okay, well, not an awful lot of us. I was thinking about her one day and I thought, oh my goodness, if she was Miss Leeden. What? What was that? Come on, Jay, share it with us. What?
We're trying to figure out where the bathroom is.
Oh, the bathroom. Okay, all right. Okay, everybody, let's take a break. Well, so if she was misleading, were we misled? I'm just saying, you know, well, you know, I just love to study maps. I'm serious. I absolutely love maps. And Google Earth is my friend. And I have an old atlas that my dad used. It's from the year I was born, 1946, all these roads that don't exist anymore. I just love these things. And Forest Service maps, trail maps, road maps. I think I ought to be called a roads scholar. Yeah. I've got my notes here, so really I am trying to stay organized. You know, I am a preacher, you know, so I could, never mind, I could really, but I won't. go long. That's what I was going to say. Did you hear about the guys that were members of the Gentlemen's Club? And when I think of this, I think of the Club Union in San Jose, Costa Rica. It's one of those clubs with the guys, as they say in Spanish, men of quality, which really means quality, you know. And so they were having a meeting one day, and one of the guys had a guest with him who had never been to this club, and they sat down and they had a wonderful meal, kind of like we did, and they were sitting having a good time. Pretty soon a fellow gets up and he says, "Number 22," and the crowd just roared in laughter. And that died down. Another stands up and he says, "Number 13," and they just roar with laughter. And this goes on, and finally this guy turns to his friend. He says, "What are they doing?" He says, "Oh, these are the jokes. We've known these things for so many years that we don't tell them anymore. We just put numbers on them and just say them like that, you know." And so this guy thought, hey, this is a good idea. So pretty soon he stands up and he says, "Number 2." And he bombs, you know, and nobody laughs, you know, maybe a chuckle or two. He's so humiliated, he sits down. And so the meeting gets over, and they're walking outside, and he says, "Hey," he says, "tell me, wasn't number 2 a good joke?" He says, "Oh yeah, number 2, that was a good one." He says, "How come they didn't laugh?" He says, "Oh, no, don't worry." He says, "Some guys can tell them and some guys can't." My wife and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary last December. And, you know, increasingly as the years go by, you know, we guys, we're a little bit remiss about the words, "I love you," and all this juicy stuff and everything. So my wife will once in a while say, "Honey, do you love me?" And I'll say, finally I got to be where I'd say, "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. 1, 2, and then she bops me. I still work full-time. I got to be at work at 11 o'clock in the morning, so I'm out of here early. And I work in a home improvement store that would just put Lowe's and Home Depot to shame. We've got such wonderful customer service, and we guys get educated. I work in plumbing and electric, and I've been there for over 11 years, and so everybody comes to me and they say, "Hey, Greg, can I pick your brain?" I said, "Yeah, everybody else does, and look what happened to me." And anyway, I'm in the plumbing electric department. Right next to us is bath, kitchen, and decor. So they sell the bathtubs and the vanities and the sinks and the showers and all this stuff. It would be, you know, I haven't ever really done this, but I got to catch myself here because it wouldn't be too hard to just say, "Hey, bath, kitchen, decor, I have a man over here who needs a shower." You know. Boy, I'll tell you, I do get some that haven't had water for a few days, and it really, yeah, right. Forrest Gump. How many of you love Forrest Gump? Well, Forrest Gump died. He was going to heaven. St. Peter met him there. "Hi, Forrest," you know, he says, "But, Forrest, I got to tell you, we've had quite a run lately. A lot of people coming up. We've had to thin some out, so I'm going to give you a test." I'm sure you've all heard about the test to get into heaven. But Forrest Gump, you know, this is pretty special. So St. Peter says to him, "Well, Forrest, first question is, which days of the week start with T?" And so Forrest Gump thinks a moment. He says, "Today and tomorrow." "Well, you got me on that one. You hit me broadside. I wasn't expecting that one." "Okay, well, I'll give that to you." So the second question, how many seconds in a year? Thought for a moment. He says, 12. 12 seconds in a year? Where do you get that? He says, January 2nd, February 2nd. You know. Well, so the last question, he says, "Okay, Forrest, I got to give it to you, but here's the last one. This is a good one. What is God's first name?" "Oh," he says, "that's simple. It's Andy." "Forrest, where in the world you come up with this?" He says, "Andy walks with me, Andy talks with me." "Okay, Forrest, you got it. Go, boy." So when we were our first time in Norway, 1986, how many Norwegians do we have? I don't think we have. Oh my goodness, look at that. I knew there were some. Oh, cool. Have been to Norway?
No.
Oh, you got to go to that. But anyway, we got to Norway, and we met a fellow named Sigvard Wallenberg from Sweden, who was the Bob Hope of Scandinavia. I'm serious. This guy was Scandinavia's Bob Hope, and he could sing, beautiful big baritone voice, kind of like Bob Hauge, and play the piano. He played the piano for Louis Armstrong when Louis traveled in Europe, and he'd been a humorist as well. He was funny. And then later he became an evangelist. But anyway, we were in this meeting. We had come all the way from, we came from Costa Rica to Guatemala to Miami and then over to Oslo, and rode into the mountains all dressed up all the way, ready for this meeting. We land, we drive up almost to the Continental Divide and into this meeting hall, and we're in there, and the long and the short of it is that by the time this fellow got up to speak, our hostess, who was a missionary from Guatemala, turned to us and said, we're going to go down to our hotel room because there's not going to be any English translation. So Sigvard gets up to speak, and we're walking down the stairs of this platform, and all of a sudden the people just roared, practically rolling off their chairs in laughter. So I said, hey, tell me some of your secrets. He said, well, there's always been this rivalry between Sweden and Norway, and at some point in history it wasn't all that friendly either, but it is today, so there's no war going on in that way. So he says, for example, he says, oh, did you know that they had to close the Oslo library? He said, somebody stole the book. Oh, and they had a power outage the other day in Oslo, and 20 Norwegians were stranded for 2 hours on an escalator. You don't have to laugh, really. This stuff is not very funny. A Swedish lady, a young Swedish lady married an Arab guy, and they named their son Yasher Yabetcha. And of course, being a preacher, I would have to tell you a few church bloopers and some church jokes, you remember the story of Lot when he had to leave Sodom and Gomorrah because they're going to throw sulfur and fire down on that thing. And so anyway, the teacher was saying, well, Lot's wife looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And little Johnny speaks up and he says, that's nothing. My mama was driving down the street the other day and she looked back and turned into a telephone pole. I love the church bloopers. You can look these up on the web, and some of these are a little racy. I didn't even bring some of those, so I'll tell some of the milder ones, such as, for those of you who are parents and don't know it, there's a nursery downstairs. The low self-esteem group will meet Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Please use the back door. But the Weight Watchers will be meeting at the First Presbyterian Church at 7 p.m. Please use the large double doors. There's a sign in front of the church over here that says Jesus Saves. Across the street at Safeway it says Safeway saves you more. And finally, this is the crowning glory. Missionary from Africa, speaking at Calvary Memorial Church in Racine. Her name, Bertha Belch. The announcement, come out and hear Bertha Belch all the way from Africa. And of course, we couldn't leave our blonde friends out. And some of you probably a little more blonde than you used to be. So you talk about travel. I did have the privilege of being on a ship. This is 25 years back, down in Gulfport, Mississippi. And I got to see the beaches down there. They're very flat. How many of you know the Gulf Coast beaches? You've seen those. They're very flat. You can walk a quarter mile out and be about this deep in water. So these two blondes are on this beach. It's a nice summer night, the full moon, balmy sea breezes, and of course the surf doesn't, really come up on those unless they got a hurricane. And so they're looking at the moon, and one of them says, I wonder which is closer, the moon or Florida? And the other one looks at her and says, hello, can you see Florida? And then there's the blondes that came down to the river, and she saw another blonde come down across the river from her, and the girl over there says, "Hey sis, how do I get to the other side?" And she says, "Hello, you are on the other side." Oh, then there were the blondes who visited NASA down in Houston, and they had a real plan up their sleeves. They're talking to the engineers and the controllers and so forth, and they confessed that they were trying to rig up a voyage to the sun. And of course, right away, the guys were saying, "Oh, honey, you can't do that. You'll burn up." And she says, "Silly boys, we're going at night." Well, finally, there was the girl, that blonde girl that worked at the Jaguar agency. She was a secretary and made pretty good money. And she saved up and bought herself a brand new Jaguar. And so she took it home and she would drive it to work, kept it clean, all that. And about a week went by and she told her boss, she says, "Well, I really like the car, but I can't, there's sometimes it just won't work." Oh my goodness, they sent a technician out there. He got the keys, took the car out, ran it fast, ran it slow, ran it around the corners, put the scanner on it. Everything was immaculate. There wasn't a thing wrong with it. So he brought it back, handed her the keys and says, "Ma'am, this car is immaculate. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it." She says, "Well, sometimes I just can't get it to go." And he says, "Well, are you sure that you're in the right gear?" She says, "Well, I'm not stupid." That's part of the joke. I'm not. Anyway, she says, "I'm not stupid. In the daytime, I shift into D, and at night, I shift into N." Oh, well. There you go. How many of you remember the Pope Mobile? Remember the Pope Mobile for the Pope? Well, we got to see it in Costa Rica. I mean, I was there when it came through. They're right there on 2nd Avenue, right down in front of the cathedral. And this is a story, by the way, I heard from a bus driver down there last December. I didn't know about this. But it seems like there was one of the local guys, he was so excited. He wanted to see the Pope, and he drove his car down there, and he parked it, and he took his Costa Rican flag with him. He was going to be so proud, and he was walking away, and he looked back, and there were the police there with a wrecker, a tow truck, loading up his car to tow off. He went back and says, "You can't take my car." He says, "Sir, you're parked in a no parking zone. We're going to take the car. You're going to have to come down and collect it." Oh, he got so mad. He went right over there by the cathedral, and they got these tall trees down there, and he climbed one of those trees and was sitting there in protest with his flag up there. And then the Pope Mobile came down. Here it goes right by, and the Pope is waving and so forth. And all of a sudden, the thing was just as it passed him, he came down that tree so fast. He was all wide-eyed, and his buddy said, "Jose, what happened? What happened?" He says, "Man," he says, "the Pope went by, and he looked at me, and he says, 'Either come down from that tree, or we're cutting it down.'" There you go. Oh, there was a young man, a young farmer, bought a horse from a guy. And it was a wonderful horse, docile, powerful. I mean, he worked well. He was just the nicest horse, except that the birds kept building nests in his mane. And he tried clipping, he tried poison, he tried everything. He couldn't get the birds to stop building nests in that horse's mane. What a problem that was. So finally he goes back to the farmer and he says, "What do I do about this?" He said, "Son, no problem." He said, "Just rub yeast into it." Yeast? What's up with that? So he goes back and he rubs the yeast into the mane, and a week went by, and 2 weeks, no birds. Now he's got to find out. So he goes back to the farmer. He says, "Well, sir," he said, "that really worked. So what's the secret?" He said, "Very simple. Yeast is yeast, and nest is nest, and never the mane shall tweet." Am I going over time? Oh, man. Well, okay. Okay, all right. So we've got to stop by having a sort of a celebration of old age. I thought we'd do a little old age here. Don't fall asleep reading old magazines, because you might wake up with back issues. Two old Englishmen, I'll go right through these. Two old Englishmen in a sports car open, and they're going down, these old guys, going through. One guy says, "Oh, I do believe this is Wembley." And he says, "No, it's Thursday." Oh, he says, "So am I. Let's stop and have a snort." I've got to tell you this one. A policeman pulls over a car with 4 elderly ladies in it for going 25 miles an hour on the freeway. And he notices as he comes up to the car that the 3 passengers are ashen-faced, wide-eyed, and very quiet. And the driver rolls down her window and says, well, after he inspected her license and so forth, he said, "Well, officer, why did you pull me over? I was only going 25 miles an hour. And he said, "Yeah, you were, ma'am, but this is a freeway. It's 65 miles an hour is the speed limit here. Your relative speed is 40 miles an hour. Somebody could smack you from behind. That's dangerous." And she said, "Well, I was only going by the sign." And he looked up and he chuckled. He says, "Ma'am, that's the number of the highway. This is Interstate 25. And she said, "Oh, well, that would explain something. We just turned off of Route 157. So I'm going to quit. I'm going to sing you some songs. I thought you'd enjoy some songs. And I've just run real short excerpts from these songs, just changed the words a little bit. So starting with Paul Anka from 1959. Think of this one. Take the soap from its holder. Wash my back for me, baby. I can't do it anymore. Hank Lachlan, 1960, please help me, I've fallen, and I can't get up. Okay. The Beach Boys, 1964, get around, I used to get around. And finally, Willie Nelson, 1980, I'm on the bed again, and I better take my med again, so I don't feel half dead again, and have to miss the 55th reunion of the class of 1964. God bless you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, now we've reached the part where we're drawing tickets. So find your drawing tickets. Do you want to take a break and go to the restroom first before we do this?
No.
Okay, just get this over with, right? All right. Oh, and Janice wants to know where our annual is. Anybody got Janice's annual?
I have it right here.
Okay.
It's still coming?
Sarah, would you please come and draw a number? So check your tickets. The last 3 numbers are 154. Okay. And Joyce has given us some antique magazines. So that's one. And we'll put this back because there's more going on.
All right. 1964.
1964.
Oh, how nice.
137. Whoa. She's going to get a magazine.
Okay. Thank you.
This is easy.
Thank you for making it easy.
189.
What?
189. 189. Somebody's got to have it, and it's not me.
And Jay's got it.
Jay has it?
I don't know, I was just joking, he's downstairs.
Well, we'll go for another number. 192. 192. It's a different price this time. You do better than I do. Pick one out.
Apparently so.
Big deep.
There you go, 159.
159.
All right.
All right. It's going to be, yeah. Thank you. Oh, no, you keep that. You might get another one. That is a book of, you want to tell them what it is? The cover of the book? Mount St. Helens. Those are nice books from the Cowlitz County Library. Museum.
Did they want it back?
They don't know what's gone yet.
Number 180.
What?
180?
That's me.
Connie gets a book too. This one is a history of Longview, also from the museum.
I want to make a suggestion.
Will you?
No, I said my suggestion is after Terry's speech about the class scholarship, if you would mail everybody out that information with the address of the R.A. Long, and so everybody will know what's going on. I mean, it's so easy for you to do. You got everybody's email.
Yeah. And I don't give out your emails to anybody unless you say I can. Number 146. The year we were born. Oh, Jeff.
Get your pair of shoes that match.
Do I get to make the choice?
No, I have to explain this one. We have a classmate who's an author. This is one of Peggy's books. Peggy Bishop Willis. This is Building the Columbia River Highway. They said it couldn't be done, and she researched this for years and wrote this book, and it's really a good book.
Cool.
There you go.
Thank you.
You get some new shoes?
Probably wants a new book. Peggy has another book out that's called Rise Above, about the Hepner flood in Oregon that killed more people than any other flood in the United States. It's a fabulous book. And she's working on another one right now, which she won't tell me what it's about, but I think it's historical. 145.
That was mine also.
Okay, we'll pick another one.
Oh, I got just excited here.
There's 3 on the floor.
Yeah, okay, let's start over.
211. Did all these people go home?
Yes.
211.
Try another.
How about 217? Ah, Bobby. Yay.
Okay.
Hey, is that my ticket?
Oh, yeah.
No, it was mine. No. This one?
Yeah. We're all for education. It's another book.
There's another magazine up there, Jim.
Okay, Madam Vice President. All righty, number 190. Okay, Joe got it. Let's give Joe one of these wonderful 1964 magazines.
All right.
Give me,
Where's my basket?
where's my basket? 193.
Is that Tom? No.
Shirley, is that you?
Oh, great.
This is a certificate for a t-shirt from the R.A. Long Alumni Association. So you get to pick out your own t-shirt and color and size. Good work.
Okay.
152. We don't have a 152? Who are we giving these to?
People timed and dashed.
177. Oh, no. Would you like to give it to somebody else?
Oh, okay. She doesn't want it.
This is rigged.
Apparently so.
It'll become clear.
Okay.
195. Aha. All right. Dawn, would you like to explain this? Dawn designs board games, and she needs to tell you about it.
Hexagon, jumping, capturing. It's a sound game. I don't even know how to explain what it is. Hold on a second. I mean, how to play the game. Randomly determine who will be the first one to play, and then it's just jump and capture, and you jump over the hexagon. So if you were jumping over this one, you put it, go to the side, you have to go over it and take it. Whoever has the most of the game wins.
There are instructions in there?
Yes.
Dawn goes to meetings, I don't know what you call them, where the gamers get together. Call them what?
Yeah.
Somebody else that's done really well with the education, she got her already along.
And I did just donate one of these to RA Mom for the chess club.
I'm sorry, Alita, but you're just...
Alita has one.
Okay, now I'm going to give this to Alita. Alita, your ticket's been chosen.
Yeah.
So you get $10 off on, or not $10 off, you get a t-shirt too for 1,913. All right.
We're done, right? Or do we have one that did that? Is that
No,
down there? Is that
no,
nothing?
that's it. Just as a reminder, we have the picture board over here with all the pictures on it. The things that are on the left side of the black ribbon belong to Chris Berry. She brought those, so please don't take those. Anything on the right side of that black ribbon, if you would like any of those pictures or any of those articles that are printed over there, please take them with you. Because that's what I printed them for, is for you to have. And I think, got anything more?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
Doing the thing.
Well, this still isn't working, is it? No, you can't hear me? No.
Scream.
Probably, the battery is dead, yes, so. Anyway, I just thank you guys very much. I want to say one other thing. Ed, I got to tell the story. I'll speak real loud. I got to tell the story about Ed. I hadn't seen him in a while, and I came up to shake his hand yesterday, and he slapped my hand away, and he gave me a great big hug. And I said to him, I'm really glad about the hug. I'm just really glad you didn't kiss me. And I'll be damned right here. It'll be in my mind for a long, long time. So, thank you. So glad you're with us and healthy, and I want everybody else to be healthy and just come back and just, yeah. You guys, so remarkable, our class, the overachievers we had, and they excelled as a group. It's just an amazing 300 people that we were involved with in our class. So it's just, you think about it. Think about here, how successful everybody has been. You know, and there's another, whatever, 200 out there.
How many came tonight?
55, I think, and so out of 300 was the approximate number of graduates. So anyway, but thank you guys. You're just, I just shake my head about the people that I know and associate with here that have been so successful in contributing back. So with their families, their churches, their communities, it's just remarkable. So thank you. Give yourself an applause.